Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rash's World. Today, we have a very special guest, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful for you to be here. And how would you briefly describe yourself? That's a tough question I like to ask at the very beginning. You can answer in any way you see fit.
A mom,
Mhm.
mom of four sons who are 22, 24, 26, 28, a wife of over 25 years, a best-selling author, and a cookie baker.
Okay, okay, maybe not so sure on the last one, but yeah.
Well, it won't pay the bills, but I do make a lot of cookies.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I do. I
awesome.
love chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're
So
awesome.
chocolate chip cookie connoisseur.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I wish this was in person so I could have a sample, but
Oh, I'll see if I can figure that out. Get you
all
some.
right. But we're here to talk about your latest book, the Success Guidebook, How to Visualize, Actualize, and Amplify You. And I love the title.
Thank you.
So, what is success for you? How do you define it? Because each of us has perhaps a different view of it, and some people have a more mainstream view of it. But I like how you're looking at different aspects of success too.
Yeah, well, so this book seeks to redefine success
Mhm.
for us personally and professionally. And I think it's really important for us to do that and take a step back from the dollars in the bank account and all the analytics and kind of go right here with it and think from our heart for a little bit
Mhm.
about what it is that we actually want, what we're visualizing for ourselves, what we can do and how we can do more of that. And I think it's just really important for us to just stop, pause, and really understand what success is for us personally and professionally. I see a lot of us comparing
Mhm.
over
Yes,
the
yes,
years,
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
that's an easy trap to fall into. And I seek to kind of hone us back in and refocus on ourselves and be the best that we can be.
And many people feel down when they compare with their age group. They say like people in my age group are supposed to be successful in these terms, and I'm not, and they feel less because of it. But there is no manual for that, and it's really like what really resonates with you personally, and that's your level of success too. You can't really compare with others because that's not you, and there is no manual for that. What makes success at a certain age as well.
You couldn't have said that better. Let's just go I'll use me as an example.
Mhm.
I am 55 years old. I'll be 55 in September.
Mhm.
I'm not 20, I'm not 30, I'm not 40, I'm not 50, I'm 55. And I'm putting books out into the world and doing things that I love to do. I have Best Ever You that I've owned since 2008. Our kids are in their 20s. I can't go comparing myself in any way, shape, or form to a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old and so forth. I'm me, and there's one of me, and that's that. And I think if we look at it like that, it's really hard to do that. It's almost like its own skill set to be able to kind of put the blinders on. But I think that what you were saying is so important. I don't think there's age limits on what you can do. I think there's a lot of people older and older, younger and younger, whatever age you are, go for it. I think we need to respect um, people and on of all ages, of all places, spaces, and so forth. I learned so much, for example, from young people. I have two kids in their mid-20s who do all of my websites and SEO and things like that. And I learn every day from them. They learn some things from me. So it goes round and round. You just have to be open to it, though.
Yeah, yeah. My son is my tech go-to person when he's 15, and he's like already playing with AI, and it's these are things I'm a bit scared of, but
Yeah.
he's my support there, and I love that. And it's also with parenting too. We have to kind of like there is no manual for that, and every child is different, so you have to adjust differently to that. So we can't really have one size fits all for these kind of questions.
I love what you just hinted at too. Parenting as a whole, when I'm coming onto these shows, I'm hearing more and more, well, how can I help my kids be successful?
Mhm.
That is a question I keep getting asked. So being a successful parent or helping our kids be successful. I think you were kind of going there a little bit with that
Mhm.
comment. And oh, does that go right here for me? Because I have four boys. They're 22, 24, 26, and 28. And we're learning as we go too. And it's really important for us to have conversations like this about, what is it that helps our younger people be successful? And one of the reasons why I wrote this book is for younger people also. I
Mhm,
write my books so that anybody of any age can pick them up and read them.
mhm.
And I think that's really important, and it's kind of hard to do. So the structure of my book is narrative from me, and then two contributing stories, and then two exercises. And those contributors in the book, there's 20 of them. They range in age from like 14 to 85,
Yeah.
all over the place, to help us know that we're not alone in our success. But yeah, parenting and helping our kids be successful. This is a good book for that. It's a book that you can give your kids.
And there are certain things that are universal. I mean, yes, we do say it's like everything is unique, but there are certain things, again, with connecting with yourself, being authentic, being genuine. It doesn't matter what generation you're from. This is important. What age you're at, it's really important to do that. And it comes with its own challenges, again, depending on where you are, what you're going through, what's happening in your life. But
Yeah.
it's so important.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good guide for that.
Mhm.
When you're going through something, or you want to go through something, you've got that inclination that you want to do something, but you don't quite know what it is. You can kind of pick up this book, and it'll help you. It actually will run you from the point of idea all the way through to taking action in the book. So you can run your idea right through the book, and it'll help you actualize the idea. But yeah, I think what you're saying is very important.
I love how it's organized. So we have the 10 factors of success, and then you break it down into visualize, actualize, amplify. And I want to briefly touch upon them because I really like these ideas. So under visualize, you have imagine, believe, focus. How is that? Why is visualization so important for, again, for success?
Yeah, think of the book like see it, be it, do it.
I
That's
like
where I'm
that.
at with that. I kind of start the book off that way, but visualization is a tool and technique that's so important for our success, because if you can't see it for yourself,
Mhm,
nobody else can see it either. I'll say that over and over again. If you can't see it for yourself, like I want to be a firefighter,
mhm.
but you can't see yourself doing that. No one else can show up for you and help you become a firefighter, for example, or an author or whatever. So it's really important that we take these steps to kind of get our get our actions in line with what we're visualizing, and get our visualizing in line with the actions we want to take. It's kind of like a step-by-step process of getting our ducks in a row, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so visualization, anything from vision boards to things you're thinking about doing. Sometimes people need them written, sometimes people need them spoken, sometimes people need to see them up on a wall. Whatever it is, that visualization process is important, because it's that it's that moment where you say, like even I did, even as a young kid, I was like, I want to be an author. As a young
Yeah.
kid, I've been saying to myself, I want to be an author. And I never did it for a really long time until I hit 40. I put my first book out when I was 40, and it was a children's book that I self-published. And then it goes from there. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. And I can remember the point where I was sitting in a job in it was like late 2007. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I am so miserable at this job. I thought it was going to be the best thing in the world. Like our little son went into first grade. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get suited up, go back into the financial services industry. Everything's going to be great. And I was in there for a while. And I'm like, this is awful. And I closed my door and I began to visualize what it is that I wanted to do with my life. And I still have the notes, and there's scribble scrabble and drawings and things like that. But in that was best ever you, best ever me. And I was feeling in that moment, I was like so low and feeling at my worst. I was like, well, I don't know. I think I wrote like, it can't get much worse than this. So where do we go from here, kind of thing. And I started to dream and think about what it is that I wanted to do. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I wanted to be an author. How do I make that happen? How do I help other people get out of this situation where they're not feeling good at their job? I'm talking on and on here for a minute. I'll be quiet. But that those feelings where you're just like, I'm feeling stuck and I need to do something else with my life. And that moment right there, that starts the visualization process.
And
That
when
makes
we're
sense.
a kid, it's really like unfiltered. We don't have the baggage. We don't have parents, parental expectations and thinking of reality and making money and so on. And that is the true dream that we have. So when we're stuck, I think we need to look back to what is it I wanted to do back then. And so for me also, writing was important. But then parents say, well, you won't make money. It's not stable and so on. And then you begin to doubt yourself,
Yeah.
which is rather unfortunate in many cases because that's something you should pursue if it's your calling.
Yeah. And if it's, there's things too, like I wouldn't make a very good surgeon.
Mhm.
I always thought as a kid I was going to be a doctor, and then I
Oh, you
got in
thought
there.
that?
I'm like,
Okay.
oh yeah, no, this would not be. I'm the person who's going to leave the sponge in the person. Kind of forgetful, not a good plan, not a perfectionist, that kind of thing. And so I think too, we play off our strengths, our weaknesses, what we love. Sometimes what we're good at, it comes easy, and we can fall into a rut there as well. We need to challenge ourselves to do more and things like that. But yeah, I think that look back into your childhood, like what you were even remotely good at, or what sparked an interest. You don't have to
Yeah.
be perfect at it back then. What you could work on and improve to become better. I know many people who were like, yeah, in high school I was a track athlete. And I'll say, do you run now? No, no, no. I'm like, you got it in you. I
Mhm.
know you do. You did it. You did it once before. It's somewhere in there. Oh, I could never do that. It won't be to the same level. I'm like, no one says it has to be
Yeah.
to the same level. You don't have to be a decorated high school track star in your 50s. Just walk.
It's kind of interesting too. Like manifestation, I tried for a while, and I had like something like this image I had, and I kept working towards it. Like it wasn't just imagining and that's it. And then it turned out to be true. And so I just wish I had asked, imagined a bigger amount of money, but it ended up being true for that case. But then also sometimes I visualize things, and it's like this is going to go like this, and it doesn't. So
Yes.
we get a bit of both too, when it's like goes completely off rails. It's like, well, that was not how I imagined things. So
Yeah.
how can we deal with that kind of discrepancy sometimes too when
Yeah.
it doesn't work out?
Well, manifesting is kind of interesting because the one thing that you can't do is sit around and wish for it to
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
You have to take action.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of like a little stigma that goes with manifesting. You don't just sit around and go, oh, it's all going to happen and success will rain down upon me. We really have to work at it for the most part. In yeah, I'll just say we really have to work at it for the most part. But sometimes things don't work out the way you hope they were going to. You're visualizing, I'm visualizing this to be a New York Times bestseller. Well, it might not land there. We have no idea what's going to happen. There's so many things that aren't in your control
That's a
for
great.
your success that it becomes important to kind of control the controllables if you can.
Mhm.
And to not get bogged down with negative, especially like somebody said the other day, well, I laughed too because I'm like, oh no, 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 no. They're like, Elizabeth, you're so successful. I'm like, wait a minute. They're like, this looks like it's so effortless for you and so easy. And I'm like, let me just tell you something. I've been like, there's so much more that I can do, number one. Two, there's so many people that don't know my name and my books and things like that. I'm always working harder. Three, this has been like 20 years of my life,
Yeah.
and the beginning and sometimes still 24 hours a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember many, many, many hours at the computer and doing things and networking and radio shows and all this stuff to get to the point where I am now. So I don't think it's like a snap of your fingers,
Absolutely.
voila.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
it's
saw
a
an
lot of
interview.
work.
Yeah, I saw an interview with a musician. I said, "What do you think of your overnight success?" It's like overnight success. I've been
Success.
working for years for this. This is not overnight. And I
Yeah.
think we don't see that often. We have to keep that in mind too. It takes constant effort and lots of rejections and obstacles, but we need to dig through that and still believe in ourselves. And that's something you talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is tricky. Like even I have days where I'm like, oh, this is not going right. I just had one of those yesterday. I
Oh,
was like, wow, I need some buddies here. And I called like four of my friends and I said, this is what's happening. And they're like, okay, remember why I shared that with you is remember to surround yourself with love and people who know authentically who you are, and to portray that also in social media and in whatever it is that you're doing. There's no sense in me being fake me. It's not going to work. And, I'll share what happened the other day. 2 days ago, I was gardening. I bent over the wrong way and my back went out. And I'm like, oh my God. For the past 2 days, I've been flat. This is my first, like, today is I'm up and sitting in the chair and up and smiling. But for 2 days, I've been like almost in tears crying from back pain. And, those are moments where you don't feel successful. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, what did I just do? Kind of thing. And it's also kind of quiet. Like I'm upstairs in bed, like just flat on my back. And it gets quiet and you start to think and you're thinking about things and doing things. And so I just think it's really important to surround yourself. That's a long story, but important to surround yourself with people who have got your back. When you're down on your
Got your back,
back,
literally.
yeah, I mean it. Really, people who have got your back.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of. I'm like, oh, I'm not alone here. There's people who are going to help me these next 2 days because I really couldn't move.
Yeah.
And just take that scenario and apply it. There are moments in your life where you feel like you're flat on your back, and there's so many blessings still. To not lose sight of them. Don't dwell on what's wrong. Go to what's right.
And so, but you visualize because you need to have an idea to what is it you want. You need to have that idea. And often I think like the thought I don't know about it. I mean, so it's really important to have that to visualize it. But then the next step is I find very interesting to like, let's turn it into reality. Let's actualize. And so you have here about planning, asking, networking, and so on. What could you say about the second phase here, actualizing, and how to come about?
Oh, sorry.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So as you're believing in yourself more and more, and you're focusing on the positive, not dwelling on the negative, and you've got the see it part down, the visualizing part down, I think a couple things come into play. Focus, planning, asking maybe bigger, networking, and things like that. All the things that you do to expand your reach come into play, with the end of visualization being like a focus. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on that. So for example, when I started Best Ever You, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 5 things daily that propel me in the right direction. So I really hone in on what it is that I'm doing, to almost the point where I could make a plan. Like, okay, I'm going to do a website and radio shows and maybe write a book and things like that. And here's the thing with planning, it never goes the way you think it's going to go. And 2, sometimes you put some crazy stuff out there and you're like, huh? And people around you go, huh? Okay, you are going to have a website, a radio show, and books, and this and that and another thing. And so it becomes important again as you're visualizing and having loftier goals or dreams or something that you want to do, to again put the right people around you. Because you can, right in that moment of being it, get really bogged down by people who don't want you to be it and don't want you to succeed. They can't see for you what it is you see for yourself. And so I say in this part where you're trying to actualize and actually become what it is that you want to be, whether it's a career shift, a divorce, a move, a marriage, redecorating your house, whatever it is that you want to do that's changing, it becomes super important to get my standard issue earplugs and bubble wrap. I think everybody needs a really good set of earplugs so that they can focus on what it is that they want to do, and bubble wrap because it's so bumpy out there. You bump into everybody with their opinions and their this and their that about what it is that you should do, shouldn't do, could do, all of it. And it's important to just kind of come right back here and go, no, wait a minute. Like for me, I'm like, I'm an author. I do write children's books, yes. My primary focus is helping people be their best. I'm going to help people change, and I'm going to help people feel more successful in their lives. That's my lane. That's what I want to do. And I've heard everything personally from you to huh? To, I've had people call me. When I was very first starting Best Ever You, I had somebody call me and say, you're nothing but a washed up soccer mom. You have no right being in this space, let alone writing books, being an authority on anything. You don't have this. And I'm like, I hung up I said something. I said, I wish I would have said more, but I'm nice. And I said, dude, my kids don't even play soccer. And
That's a good one. I like that.
My kids are all baseball players and don't like soccer, but anyway, but in those moments, you wish you could kind of go back and tell the people off, but you don't. You don't want to burn bridges and things like that. And that's in the book as well. As people are coming at you, telling you that no one's ever done that before, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you don't have the skills, or the long list of whatever it is. Remember, they're coming at you with their own list of stuff,
Yes.
their own experiences,
Yeah.
their own pitfalls, their own blah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you might not need that information. You might need to just stay right here and focus. So, and that's a long-winded explanation maybe of that whole section, but that's what that section is. Like, it's like if you're having people in your life that don't show up for you, don't believe in you, and you're feeling alone, go right to that section. It'll perk you right back up.
When that one comes up about not being certified, they say, well, certified and qualified are two different things. You could be certified but not qualified, and vice versa. So it's something to keep in mind as well. And so I think that's a huge thing you're talking about. It's also, in a way, also asking for things and asking for help, but also asking the universe. And so this was a different experience where it was not manifestation. I just asked for something. And this was years ago where things were not looking good professionally. I couldn't keep the job I had because they closed down the school and so on. And then I said, I want to buy my son an iPad. And this was years ago when he wanted one. It's like, I wish I could do that. And it turned out to become true, because then just after that, I got a job. I got enough money to be able to afford that. So it was just an ask that came from the bottom of the heart. I didn't do anything really. Like, I just firmly believed in it, and it turned out to be true. And so I think we should give that a shot in many ways.
And so that's the other part of this. This is in the book too, because I have a lot of things like that. And I've heard a lot of stories like that where you wish out loud or wish quietly or praying for something to change or different or something or someone or whatever it is, and it comes true. And I think there's a lot of unexplained things like that. I think it's real, and I think the universe is that way. So keep wishing, keep praying, keep spreading love and joy. And I also think too that sometimes when you're positive like that in a negative circumstance, it completely shifts your energy. So my first book is the Change Guidebook, Aligning Your Heart, Truths, and Energy to Find Success in All Areas of Your Life. And I love energy. I think it's really important to pay attention to people's energy, their field, their space, their everything, because you can be around somebody and go, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that energy. It's dark, or it's sad, or it's something. And then you can be around somebody who's just lost their job and they're like, well, at least I've got this, 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 and this. And wouldn't it be cool if I had this, this, and this, and I could buy that iPad? And I'm going to keep my whole energy field open, everything unblocked, everything just I know this is not a good circumstance, but you somehow maintain that faith. That is what I don't know if you've read all my books, but that is what my dad did and taught me. Have you read and you can say no. Have you read Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through?
No.
You will love that book.
Okay,
yeah, you will. The ebook is cheaper than the actual printed copy, but you can get it at Hay House. I'm a former Hay House author. It's right on their website. Can I share the story?
For sure, yeah.
Okay,
I'd love to
so
know.
my dad, James Hamilton, who is no longer with us, he passed away in 2018. He was a stroke survivor from 2004 to 2018, and he had a stroke right in the middle of our living room in Minnesota. My brother helped save his life, and he had a battle. And when I say battle, they nicknamed him the ICU warrior. He was in and out of ICU units from 2004 to 2018, pretty much battling for his life the whole time. Some moments were great, some moments weren't, and so forth. He'd get better and then get worse and be on that roller coaster. His energy was so amazing. It was different. It was, I'm surviving this. And where I learned about this was kind of from him in a moment where he was in a rehab facility. And they took like an hour to get him down to a speech therapy session. And the nurse said to my mom and I that they were going to do a speech therapy session on him with the alphabet. When she said the letter A was to say a word. And she warned us, most people say, nothing, whatever, because he was in that kind of state. Well, she said A and he said aardvark, And my mom and I were like,
Wow.
that's interesting. The drugs are on board or something, kind of thing. And then he went in a really determined way. He went benevolence, courage, determination,
Wow.
excellence. F was another swear word that I've changed to faith.
Okay.
Goodness, kindness, goodness, happiness, integrity, joy, kindness, love. M was movies, and on and on and on in this amazing
Amazing.
inspirational list. And it was like, and you should have seen him. He was not in any way, shape, or form. He was like sick. You know what I mean? Like he was there, he was in a rehab facility, but he was so weak and he was rattling off all these words. Like, I am here, I am with it, I can talk, my brain functions, I'm tired, but I'm here. And he put his foot down in that moment. And that kind of energy was so amazing. Like I remember as he was talking, I took out my notebook and I wrote percolate, ABCs of life, kind of thing. I like started to become a writer in that moment. And up to that moment, I had life-threatening food allergies and I felt sorry for myself and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, if he can do this, I can do this kind of thing. And I think that positive energy in the face of the worst circumstances, even like the tiniest glimmer of hope and faith
Yeah.
and love and kindness and grace and elegance and all of those things that make a crappy situation even just the tiniest bit better are what you hang on to survive, to thrive, to do anything.
There are cases where people who have Alzheimer's, and usually before they pass away, where they get clarity, they get moments of clarity and remember things. And I find that very truly inspiring because it means that there is something else. So where this is our body, but there's a soul that remembers things and that is aware, and that people would have that moments before leaving is just amazing. So we're not just our body. I think that for
I
me
hope
that's
not.
that's proof, and I do strongly believe in that, and that is where science cannot explain.
Yeah,
There's something else at work.
I think there's so many things that we can't explain.
Mhm,
It's phenomenal.
mhm.
So, and I think when you have those moments where you're like, that just happened. Do I tell anybody about that, or is everybody going to think I'm nuts?
Yeah,
That's where you hold on to it. And if you don't feel like telling anybody, write
yeah,
it down, journal about it, think about it, and so forth. Because I think we have angels all around
yeah.
us. I was raised Catholic and Presbyterian, both. In Iowa, alternating churches every week, going to Catholic, Presbyterian, Catholic, alternating. And when my father passed away, I had flown back to Maine. And another story, I was up at the grocery store and I was in the produce section and the pears I was crying over were gorgeous. There was nothing wrong with the pears, but I was sobbing just uncontrollably for no reason. I didn't know it or anything. I was just there and it happened. And this lady came up to me and I'm 5'3" on a big hair day and she was littler than I am and older. And she said, honey, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, sure. And this is before COVID. And she said, as she was hugging me, she goes, the look on your face and your being, it's unmistakable. Which one of your parents just died? And I'm like, how did
Mhm,
you know that?
mhm.
And who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, who are you? I've never seen you before. And I like live at this grocery store, kind of thing. And then it was like she vanished, kind of thing. She's like, you're going to be
Wow.
okay. And then I'm like looking around the store, looking around the parking lot. I'm like, who was that human being? It gives me goosebumps still to this
Yeah,
day. Like, who was that? And as if I tell that story and shows people are like angels, angels. I'm like,
yeah.
maybe just a neighbor. I don't know. Maybe just a friendly person. I have no idea. But after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to be all right. It was very strange.
Yeah. No, that's truly amazing.
And the Paris are still beautiful.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Paris.
Yeah, and so for me, a guidance and litmus test is my intuition and what feels right often. And it's you kind of know sometimes, right? It comes from deep within. It's not just what I want to happen, I wish would happen, but it's something that is guiding me. And
Yeah.
often it goes against reason or what other people are saying. But when it's that, I think it's important to really listen to it and follow through because it does give us very good guidance. We find out later on, yeah, not at the moment, but then later it's like, well, this was the best decision I've made.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important too.
Yeah, we've had moments where we've been like, okay, we've lived in Maine for 20 years, but we've had job offers to go to different places, and we've fully explored them. Like I can remember us taking the kids on a trip to go see this other place to see if we were going to move or not. We didn't tell the kids that and stuff. And I'm like, "Phew, I am so glad that we said no to that. And it was a painful no. Or I'm so glad this didn't work out because of this or that and another thing." So also pay attention to the no's you have, because sometimes you're being so redirected or rerouted to what actually is right and in your path.
Yeah.
That's very interesting too. So I love the fact that we're having like a conversation, not just about like money and all this stuff, because I'm so glad you understand and love the book
Yeah.
for its true
Yeah.
meaning,
Yes.
because it's so much more than just dollars and a job and
Yeah.
schlepping to work and all these things. Success is in those moments.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're hard to explain. They're very hard to articulate.
And we have people who are successful in terms of money and bank accounts,
Sure.
but they're not happy, and so they're missing something. So what is it's not really success then if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't give you happiness and contentment.
So I train our best ever you coaches in like 6 areas of your life. And
Mhm.
these are in the book as well. They're a little bit later on in the book, but I'm huge into, and I'll say that just I'm huge into comprehensive success.
Mhm.
And I get a little bit of flack saying like, that's not pragmatic. And I'm like, well, listen, here's a story of a millionaire, or, let's say they have $5 million in the bank and they're great money wise, but they don't have a relationship with their kids.
Mhm.
They don't have good spirituality practices.
Mhm.
Their health is suffering and so forth. And they've spent, 24 hours a day at work for the past 10 years achieving what they've achieved, but
Mhm.
let everything else crumble.
Mhm.
And you see this story over and over and over again, especially as a coach.
Mhm.
When people come to you for help, usually it's to change something or to be more successful. And you kind of have to redo, you have to unlearn, you have to rebalance in a way. And sometimes there's things about you that can carry over to all areas of your life. For example, if you get your health in order, sometimes that'll affect all the other areas. And sometimes that happens in, like money, it'll help all other areas. It just depends on what's going on. But overall, I love this practice of more comprehensive success, where we're thinking about the different areas that make us us.
Well, it's holistic in that sense.
Yeah.
And so I think also for me, it was the other way around. I changed my thought patterns, my feelings, and so on to a more positive outlook, and it improved my health, my
Yeah.
physical health, and so on. So it's like really interconnected, and we have to make sure we're taking care of each part. I think that's important.
Yeah.
And so your
Yeah.
next one is to amplify, and I like that, and focusing on things where collaboration is important, adjusting your path. And then at the very end, very important to celebrate.
Yeah, I had trouble writing this section. I'll be honest.
I,
I love the word amplify. And then I went, well, I know you love the word amplify, but what does that mean to you? What do you want people to do? Kind of thing. And I'm sitting here going, what do I want people to do? And this is exactly it. I want people to collaborate. I want people to be able to sustain their success throughout their life, not just have a moment and then not. I want people to learn to adjust. So my first book comes back in there to teach you how to learn how to change and maneuver and go with the flow and things like that. And then the last chapter of the book was the one I really had a tough time with, because I'm like, yes, I want you to celebrate, but not what you're thinking. I'm like, I don't want to be the party pooper here, but when I'm thinking about success and celebration, I'm thinking more along the lines of, I want you to celebrate small wins and have them accumulate and accumulate and accumulate so that you have, bigger wins. And my toast, I have a toast at the very end of the book, a toast to your success, and that's with coffee. Because I don't drink. So I've just been kind of like a lifelong, I don't drink person. I'll maybe have like a glass of wine here or there, but nothing too crazy. But at the very end of the book, I'm turning to it now, there's a toast, and it helps you just kind of go back and revisit the whole book, from trust to open-mindedness to alignment, self-worth, and truth.
yeah.
And go back through there in a moment of like, oh, okay, these are some of the concepts in here that I know really well from reading this book.
Mm.
And that was fun to write. I feel I'm like, okay, I just like want that to be like a meme in like Instagram or something. I'm like, I
For sure.
love this toast.
Yeah, for sure. And I also like the gratitude flip.
Oh,
That's cool. We
yeah,
should do more of those.
yeah, there, so if I get to do a third book, it'll probably be on gratitude or grief. I'm not sure which one, but probably gratitude. Gratitude is a huge focus in my life. And I'd love to help people root their own lives in gratitude as well. And I mean to the point where it's like on autopilot, meaning things can crumble around you and you're like, okay, but I'm breathing. Yeah, okay, but this is right, and this is right, and this is right on autopilot. So it becomes how you operate and becomes how you are. And one of the ways to do that is, yes, make lists of things you're grateful for and start to implement an actual gratitude practice every day, even once or twice a day, whatever it is. But also in these moments, and this is a trick, when you do have something negative or bad happen, or you didn't go the way you wanted it to, kind of go like this, just flip it. Go, okay, instead of thinking, oh, I've got to do that, or, I have to think, I have to do that. I have to go do that or whatever. Think I get to
Yes, that's it.
flip it. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to go do that. Like, oh, and this sounds kind of strange at first. People are like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, yeah, I mean, you get to go change your flat tire. Yes, I do. Not I have to go change my flat tire. I mean, you get to go, you have a car in the first place.
Right.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Do what you do have.
And you do
And
have a tire with you. You're not stuck,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
anything to glom onto and focus on, because yeah, I'm sorry that you have a flat tire, and yeah, I know. I mean, I've had flat tires on the highway, and it's like, oh
Mhm.
man, this is scary, and had kids in the car and things like that. And it's hard to find gratitude in
Mhm.
those moments, especially if you're scared or fearful or anything. So you really do, it's a practice so that things don't unravel.
Mhm.
You can catch the unraveling with gratitude.
What I do sometimes, and it's hard to do, but sometimes I see the humor of it. And there's this sense
Oh,
of humor connects. I go, this is funny. Of course, this is going to happen to me now. And once you do that, it just kind of creates a distance between your perceived suffering and the actual situation. And you go, oh, this is kind of funny. I can't wait to tell others about this experience later on.
yeah. Yeah, you'll love Percolate because Percolate's full of that too. And well, all the books have a little bit of humor in them. I don't think I'm as
Sure.
funny as your guest, Rick Keller, who's
Yes.
also in the book as a contributor.
Yes.
Congressman Rick Keller, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, I'm the funniest person on the planet to myself. I am such a goober. I do
Mhm.
things that are so silly all the time, and
Mhm.
we're constantly laughing in the
Yeah.
house and doing silly things. And that is a huge part of success. Because, in those moments of failure or whatever, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself or you're going to cry about yourself. One of the two, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we're pretty funny. We make some pretty funny mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And sometimes you say it can't get worse than it does. You go, wow, okay, this is
okay, yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I don't know how exactly funny this is. I mean, I don't think things need to necessarily be funny, kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just a little bit of light added in. But when my dad was so sick and in the ICU, he would have trips in and out, but this one particular time was really tricky, and it was like, oh, he's not going to live through this. This is bad. And he was on a ventilator. And then things turned a little bit and we're getting better. And they're like, okay, we're going to take him off the ventilator. He passed the swallow test that you need to pass to get off the ventilator. And we're like, oh, good, this is going to be a good day kind of thing. And then it wasn't a good day because they couldn't get him off the ventilator. And he was, after like 4 times they tried or whatever, it was just ah. And my mother is just sitting there in tears crying. I'm like, okay, we are getting out of here. Guess what we're going to do? Dad's taken care of. There's a billion doctors and nurses in there. He's going to be just fine right now. You and I are going to go sweater shopping. And she looked at me and I'm like, and she's like, what? And I'm not leaving with you. And I'm like, yeah, we are. We're getting up. Get your purse. We're going across the street because some great soul has put a Kohl's across from the hospital. And we are going in and we are shopping. And she's like, I don't feel like shopping. I'm like, you will. Trust me. We're going in. And sometimes you have to completely remove yourself from the crappy situation and go in. And so my mom was mopey the whole time, and I knew she didn't want to be there, but it removed us from the situation. And we bought sweaters. I bought the sweaters. And when we got into the parking lot of the hospital, because we had to go back in, I took our sweaters and I wrapped it around her neck and tied it like a superhero cape. And I wrapped mine around mine like a superhero cape. And I'm like, now we're ready. You can go back in and deal with this drama and sadness and whatever it is. Anchor in the power of your superhero cape, Mom. She's like, oh God. Kind of thing. But it worked for some reason. She was just like, oh, she's like, not more of your self-help stuff, please, kind of thing. And I'm like, hey, I'm new at this, but let's just try this, because this was back in like 2005 and 6. But moments like that, like you're saying, where you can just like anchor in a little bit of humor, a little bit of your power, a little bit of something that made you happy at some point. Anything you can anchor in to get through is sometimes so pivotal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think also one more thing that I'd like to finish on is awesomeness. And so
Yeah.
many of us are awesome and we don't know it or don't give ourselves credit for. And so being open to that. I just love the Lego movie for that. It's like everything is awesome. And I agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of things that is not cool, of course. But if you look at it from that point of view, we're missing out on the awesomeness that surrounds us, that is within us, that we can achieve. And I think we really have to tap into that. It is there.
Yeah, hang around me a little bit. I'll tell you how awesome you are day and night. I love it. If you're not feeling awesome, give me a
Yeah.
call and I'll tell you what's
Yeah.
awesome about you.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point.
Yes.
The books aren't about me. They are, they're about helping people,
Mhm.
helping us all feel a little bit better than we did a moment ago.
Mhm.
And stacking those moments. It's almost like habit stacking, only
Mhm.
only awesomeness stacking.
Mhm.
And we don't want to stack so much that we're feeling arrogant. We want to stack so much that we can turn around and then help somebody else out and have an impact on somebody else's life, because we're not that cool. We are, but we aren't. You know what I mean? We need to turn around and mentor people and have a positive impact on our youth and people who need us and need a little bit of our wisdom and so forth. And that's the end of the Change Guidebook, the other book I wrote before this. You can have a huge impact. Your awesomeness is needed.
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and if you don't feel so awesome in this moment and you don't feel like you can have anything to give to anybody else, go find somebody who believes in you more in that moment than you do in that moment and get a little awesomeness from them. You could even
Yeah.
say, tell me something good about myself.
Yeah.
That's a trick. Call
Yeah.
somebody and go, I need to hear something good about myself. I'm having a bad day. Can you tell me something that you like about me,
Mhm.
or something that you think is really cool about me? And then you can turn around and somebody will say, well, I think it's really cool that you bake cookies, Elizabeth. I'm like, that's
Mhm.
right. I
Mhm.
do bake cookies.
Mhm.
Let me go bake some right now. And that'll, that kind of thing. Remember,
Mhm.
it's all in remembering how
Mhm.
awesome you are in those moments where you don't think you are. And if you can't remember that, or don't want to, or have lost sight, give us a call. We'll help you.
And you're individually awesome. I mean, that's the thing. And you
Yeah.
can't really compare with others. You can't compete because you're uniquely awesome, right? So in
Yeah.
that sense, and
Yes.
nobody else is like you. So that idea of also like trying to compare and compete with others in that sense makes no sense in that situation, I think.
Right. This is a huge area of parenting too.
Mhm. Mhm.
I am
Absolutely.
not one to say to my kids, you all are going to blend. You all, there's a college speech out there that is one of the most depressing college graduation speeches I've ever heard. It's about how none of them are special.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
like, yeah, somebody actually, like, I can't remember who it is, but I'm like, oh my. If I was giving that speech, let me just tell you how special you are. Your skill is needed, and yours is, and yours is, and your smile, whatever, something about you is needed somewhere, and you're
Yeah.
all uniquely beautiful
Mhm.
and talented and exceptional. And I think getting people to remember that, because we get mixed up into however many people there are in this world now, billions, it makes you feel like you aren't,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you are.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so when you lose sight of that, you've got to really figure out who your buddies are to help you remember that. I'm really, of all the things I say in this interview, having people around you that understand you, really understand you, even if it's like one or two people. I try to say five, but even if it's one or two people, like go to people who really know you, know your dreams, your goals, what you stand for, what your values are, what your beliefs are, what you think, how you want your child raised, what you want to do, even if you're feeling old or whatever it is. Those people are critical to your success, because I don't think we succeed alone.
No. No.
No. No. Yeah. And my
And
first book, oh,
and that's
sorry.
the other thing, because when we have others, we celebrate together. That's so much more fun than celebrating on your own.
Right? Yeah. I always say you don't percolate I and me, you
Mhm,
percolate us and we.
mhm,
It's a big collaboration that came from that's a I, me, us, we came from percolate.
mhm,
And I think also that the other thing that you can do too, we didn't talk about this yet, but those little random acts of kindness.
mhm.
In the book I write, random acts of kindness create waves of peace. And that's another thing I just truly believe in. So that's the other thing too, is when you don't feel so good about something, give. Give a little bit. Even if you think you're like, oh, I have nothing more to give, do something, hold a door open, reach for something for somebody, um, go volunteer in a soup kitchen, give some clothes, do something to help humanity out, because you're more needed than you think you are. Yeah.
Awesome. What an awesome conversation, awesome interview. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You are a master life coach, author, and speaker, and your latest book is the Success Guidebook: How to Visualize, Actualize, and Amplify You. Thank you so much for being on Arash's World here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.